would you agree that sales is one of the most highest paid careers to take in today's society?
I think that it's arguably one of the best skill sets to
To have.
have no matter what industry that you're in.
So
Because
for everyone that's watching right now, what advice would you give them to master sales? Like let's say a young entrepreneur wants to test something out, doesn't really want to finish college, but is scared to take that,
yeah,
eject button and drop out. But he also doesn't seem like he can sell like you. I mean, you kind of had like an exit
yep.
versus some people don't really have that exit. So what's like a couple tips you would give for everyone that's watching on how to master sales?
So the biggest differentiator between me and a lot of the salespeople um, that I was sort of competing against, whether it was just the people that sold with me there at the same store, or um, probably the best thing that they did to my benefit was they created this they created this website that you could go on at any point during the day, and you could see what person was selling a phone at any other location for AT&T. It was Singular Wireless at the time, but it's AT&T now.
Wow, that was
Um, every
a
AT&T
throwback. Yeah.
store in California and Washington and Oregon and Hawaii was competition. So I was in the Western market. So they put up this site, and then I could see, well, oh, you have 8 sales today. Well, guess what I would do? I would go out and get 10 today. So I was driving it off of competitiveness. But
Okay.
what I also noticed is that the rest of the people selling had these tricks that they would do, and a lot of them were dirty tricks. It's like used car salesmen, like very corny and very cheesy. And what I noticed is that they would get sales from it, but it seemed slimy. And they would also have a lot of complaints after the fact. They would get people coming back saying, "Well, you didn't tell me about this," or "What about
Huh.
this?" or "What about that?" So while everybody's trying to finesse people, I was like, I wonder what would happen if I take the approach and I treated all this bad information that salespeople didn't want to tell to the customer as good information, and I spun it as a positive. So as an example, in the cell phone industry, the number one biggest objective was you had to pay an activation fee.
Okay.
So $36 activation fee. So I said, hey, I'm gonna go over this and I'm gonna tell you, I already told you all the good stuff. Now I'm gonna tell you all the bad stuff. There is a $36 activation fee, but you don't pay it today. It's on your first bill. You do have to pay this fee, but it's a surcharge. It's California regulated. It doesn't matter if you buy it from me or if you buy it from somewhere else. So what I did was I took all those objections and problems that people were having later in the customer sales process, and I was advancing them to the front of the line, and I'm like leading with my worst foot forward and saying, here's all the bad shit. Then I'm gonna tell you all the good stuff, and then you make a decision. If you don't want to buy from me, then great, go ahead. Other people
Okay.
were like very scared to tell people all of the bad news because it thought it would cost them the sale. So
So
what I did was
did
I
you
led with the
really?
bad information.
So you genuinely didn't care about losing the sale? Like, was that like the intention you walked in? It's like, hey, if I lose, this is all good, or were you like set, like, no, this is gonna happen, whether like
I knew
whatever.
I knew it was going to happen, and I was better than all of the other salespeople, but I was also leading with honesty, and I think that it was unique because like when you go to a car dealership, the
Hmm.
first thing they try to do is get you to say yeah, and then they're like, okay, after you agree, I'm going to tell you all the bad stuff. I'm going to tell you about the financing charge, and oh yeah, by the way, it's a high interest rate or whatever. I would just lead with the bad information and say, here's the facts, like them or, you love this or you hate it. It doesn't matter because if you go buy from this person or that
It's the
store or
same
this
thing.
store, it's the same thing. But the only difference between me and other people is I'm going to tell you about it first and I'm going to own it. And then you can make an educated decision because you're a smart person.
So interestingly enough, a question that comes to mind is, how do you take a product that no one knows about and convince someone that this is the greatest thing that they actually need it? So in your case, you had a baseline, you have a platform, you were selling phones, people use phones,
Yeah.
but
Well,
most
by the
entre
way, when I was selling them, where okay, so right now if you go into a mall and you pass by one of these kiosks in the middle,
yeah,
they say what kind of phone do you have, and then they try to push you to the phone that they have.
sure.
When I was selling phones, nobody had one. I didn't say what phone do you have, I said do you have a cell phone.
Ah, okay.
So this was 2001, 2002.
Okay, so this is kind of like a new product. All
So it's
right.
a new product, and people
Okay.
were like, oh, I have a home phone. So I was getting people to cancel their home phone
And switch to
because
cell phones.
this one does that and more, and it's not grounded to one specific place.
I see. I guess you answered the question then, because
But the way that you sell, it doesn't matter if it's phone or it doesn't matter if it's anything. So your gadget, your gizmo, your product that you came up with, or whether it's just your brand of something that already exists but yours is better in some capacity, you have to solve a problem or you have to hit a pain point. So maybe somebody else sells the same thing that you do, but theirs is $100 more. You sell on price. Maybe yours is the one that's $100 more and you're selling on value. You have to take what makes your product different and you have to sell that, whether it's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing. Some brands do it. It's like you can go to you can go to Lowe's and you can get a brick for 50 cents, or you can go to Supreme and you can get a $400 brick because they do this cool branding thing, right?
That's the
Or you
funniest
can
thing.
go
Yeah.
to McDonald's and get $1 cup of coffee, or you can go to Starbucks and get the same shit for $4. Like,
Yeah.
it's really just branding and positioning. And if your problem if your problem that you have is solved with your product, if somebody else's problem is solved that they have with your product, then you're going to be able to sell it.
I see.
And again, it could be price sensitivity, it could be function, it could be, it could be compact and something else is bulky. It can be big when something else is small. It just has to differentiate itself in some capacity, and then it has to be different than something else that a competitor has.